Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. Today, Tuesday, March 2nd, 2021, we're on stanza 28. It's a bit of a continuation of the prior stanza 27, in which he makes a reference to studying with saintly people, with people who are wise, with the doctor and the saint, where he heard great argument. And so this continues. I'll read it first. With them the seed of wisdom did I sow, and with my own hand labored it to grow. And this was all the harvest I'd reaped. I came like water, and like wind I go.
With them the seed of wisdom did I sow, and with my own hand labored it to grow. And this was all the harvest that I reaped. I came like water, and like wind I go.
Came like water, and like wind I go. Very interesting. You know, it's axiomatic in the lives of saints, and certainly the greatest saints of all, the avatars and masters. But as with anyone, as we grow spiritually, which is to say, as our mind burns away its own restlessness and focuses increasingly one-pointed on the object of our devotion, as the clinically minded Patanjali might say, as we focus devotionally, minute to minute, hour by hour, day after day, week after week, on God or one of God's many divine attributes, joy and peace, or messengers. As we do so, as we refine our consciousness away from material sense addictions and habits and egoic self-preoccupations, it's as if we connect with a consciousness and a power far greater than the little mind. And where I'm going with this is that when you read the lives of saints, you find that things happen around them that are considered to be miraculous, but even at times things that they themselves, as a conscious ego entity, are not even aware of. It's as if you create by your spiritual awakening a kind of a funnel. Swami Kriyananda used the example of an upside down pyramid, the base of which is infinity, you might say, very high and powerful, bringing into a pointed focus in the soul, in the brain, in the mind, the power of infinity. Swami Kriyananda, who certainly did not consider himself an avatar or self-realized, but Swami Kriyananda, who had a tremendous amount of concentration and deep devotion to God and gurus, would sometimes have friends say to him that, "Oh, you came to me in a dream last night and told me something." Well, he would have no recollection of having done so. And this is not uncommon. A saintly, or at least a very peaceful person, can walk into a room where people are otherwise restless, even arguing, and suddenly peace descends upon the room. This would happen to Mahatma Gandhi. He would walk into a room of squabbling politicians, and they'd suddenly become quiet and open. I like to joke because something similar happened when Hitler walked into her room, but it was fear, not peace. Nonetheless, there are many signs. I was going to say one of the signs, but there are many signs of our spiritual progress. Patanjali gives the siddhis, or the powers, or the manifestations of that soul awakening. We see it in the lives of saints east and west, powers that by themselves are of no particular use or certainly aren't to be sought for their own sake, but we hear of things like levitation and various psychic phenomena. Those are not really the ones I mean for most of us, and for most saints for that matter, because it's more of a power of healing is really what it is. So often, being around such a person changes your consciousness. There is I think it might be in the Hindu Upanishads, I don't recall, but one moment in the presence of a saint can be one's raft to salvation. There is a transmission that takes place. This transmission is something called darshan in Sanskrit in India. But this transmission is something that many devotees feel. You can also feel it in sacred places, places of pilgrimage, places where the divine has been made manifest through the instrumentality of saintly souls. Saintly souls are like that fulcrum point, that point of the great triangle descending from infinity into human form and being transmitted. It opens up like a wormhole in the ether, and centuries after a great saint has perhaps lived in a place or achieved a high state of consciousness while in that spot, can be felt by people who are in tune with it. And so when Omar says, "I came like water," the image intended there is like, think of a gurgling stream or white water just rushing to find the sea of spirit, rushing to find the sea of fulfillment, but very turbulent, like the minds of most people, flitting nanosecond to nanosecond from one thing to another. But the minds of saintly people are focused and calm. And in times of crisis, they remain calm. And of course, so do other people. And that's how people acquire magnetism. In most people who acquire magnetism, the magnetism tends to be in the particular area of their concentration. Concentration, you see, the focusing of the mind, whose powers come from consciousness itself. The focusing of the mind determines how much power you can access towards the desired goal. This can be used for ego satisfaction. It can be used to harm people, make mischief in this world, or it can be used for good. But ultimately, those are the gifts of spirit. Those are the gifts of creation. Those are the powers of creation. Satan himself, so to speak, says, "I offer you dominion over all things," when you seek those things for themselves, which is, you might say, Satan's watchword, the outflowing force from spirit that has made manifest this creation is itself conscious and wants to keep this creation in manifestation rather than withdraw and dissolve itself back into spirit. And so when we join in willingly with that outflowing force, which is conscious, to the extent that we are looking for, let's say, money, then this greater force, which has made manifest money and the desire for money, will aid in our cooperation. And as our mind concentrates on making money and perhaps hangs out with people who make money, then we develop the magnetism to make money. Now, depending on our karmic starting point, that might take more than one lifetime. Certainly it would to become filthy rich, as they say, or exceedingly successful in one's business enterprises, not likely to come from 0 to 60 in one lifetime. And thus it is, as I've mentioned before, we must watch what we wish for. I mentioned in maybe yesterday's broadcast or recently, we get 3 wishes from the genie of life. Wishes for sense enjoyment and satisfaction, wishes for egoic satisfaction and emotional fulfillment, human love, for example, and fulfillment in God, in spirit. And so we do have to watch what we wish for. But in that great chant of Swami Sri Yukteswar's, where he says, let pranayam be your religion. Pranayam is the energy of creation, the divine energy that underlies the manifestation of all forms. And that energy has to be concentrated in order to manifest forms. Concentration is the key, and the key to concentration is relaxation. I'm speaking now especially of spiritual awakening. To some degree, it's also true of material success. A person who's a good athlete or good at investing, making money, and so forth, there's a natural sort of flow, a confident expectation of success. So yes, even in material things, a kind of calm, self-confident relaxation, which is to say a kind of non-attachment, is the basis. But again, Omar is not speaking about material success. He's talking about enlightenment, as we are. And relaxation is the foundation, concentration is the second step, and the third step is release, is self-offering, is letting go, is transcendence. Like water I came, like wind, invisible and free, I go. Joy to you.